Morning, everyone. My name is John Blanco, and I would like to welcome you to today's session on how to get past the first screen, from resume to interview. We are very happy to have you here. This webinar is part of the SUG Women's Network Career Development Series, and we'll have Adriana Citlali Ramirez and Julio Monsalve as speakers. Bea de Santa Ana will serve as moderators together with me, and we'll have Robin Dupre as our producer. Before we begin, I would like to quickly cover a few housekeeping items to ensure the best experience for everyone. We encourage questions. We want to get as many as possible. So please use the Q&A box to submit your questions at any time. We will address as many as possible at the end of the presentation. We will also be launching a few polls during the session, and we'd love for you to participate. Today's session is being recorded, and a copy will be sent to your email or a link to stream it after the presentation. Thank you for your cooperation, and let's meet our speakers. Adriana Citlali Ramirez is a Mexican energy executive with a PhD in physics and executive business strategy postgraduate education. She has held senior leadership roles, including research portfolio lead, senior director, and chief geophysicist across technology, operations, and multi-client business for major service companies and operators. Her work integrates geophysics, multiphysics, and artificial intelligence to inform technology strategy and investment decisions across the energy value chain, spanning hydrocarbons, minerals, and new energies. Adriana is the founder and managing director of ACR Insights, vice president of the SEG Board of Directors, and a former executive board director of SEEM. She is also a lecturer, public speaker, and executive leadership coach with a strong commitment to ethical leadership and empowering women. We also have Julio Monsalve. He's an MBA-trained professional with experience in business strategy, operational optimization, and renewable energy. He brings a practical, hands-on approach to translating real-world experience into clear and compelling CVs and cover letters. He's passionate about helping professionals articulate their value, tell their story with confidence, and position themselves for meaningful career growth. To assist us getting past the first screen, this webinar will cover the following topics: the elements of a good resume, cover letter and document tailoring, AI tools for job hunting, of course, the interview, and we'll explain the resume review initiative from the STG Women's Network Committee, to end with some Q&A session. Let's start.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Jean-Marie. Thank you, everybody, for being here this morning. So today we are going to start with the element of a good resume. What is a resume? A resume is a short, tailored summary of your most relevant experience and specific to job. Personally, for me, resume and CV used to be exactly the same thing until I moved to Europe and from Europe to the United States. So these two definitions are important to understand depending on where you're applying and where you want to go or where you live, because multicultural experiences show up in those resumes, the first document that you share with the rest of the world. So the purpose of the resume is to be coherent on a story of your professional career that connects your skills, your achievements with quantifiable, and is mostly reference specific and is applied for the job that you want to apply. Usually it's 1 or 2 pages, and even for experienced professionals, please don't go more than 2 pages. And make sure that this definition is also very American, very for United States. A CV, on the other hand, is almost the same. It's still a comprehensive story of yourself, but includes multiple players. It includes more detail into your academic and professional history. It's way more extended. You can be 3 or more. It doesn't matter. However, there is a big caveat here. If you're in Europe or Asia, where these terms interchange, please keep it around 2 pages. Things like pictures, descriptions of yourself, personal information vary across the world. So please feel free to go into details about one of the documents that we are going to share at the end of this presentation, where I took as an example how these different cultures apply and how the resume or CV changes depending on the country. So when to use them? Well, as I mentioned, if you're applying to US in Canada, assumes that resume is the document to present. If you are in Europe, they want most a CV, especially if you are going to academics, something that I forgot to mention, because they want to know exactly what your background is, your performance during those critical years in college, or for example, if you are a new young professional, it is really important to put those details that shows how unique you are, how valuable you are. Okay, but also remember that this needs to be tailored to the role that you are applying to. If you're in Americas or in Africa or in Asia, I mean in no United States, no Canada, well, CV and resume can be interchanged. Some countries will allow to have pictures like I mentioned, and some others don't. So please do your homework before applying so you have the correct document for the correct place that you want to apply. So what do we look into a great CV or resume? We are looking into honest, coherent career story, especially because nowadays there are plenty of people applying for the same job. We're looking to be clear and concise. We are looking to achieve a focus bullet points where I can see the impact, where we can see the metrics, how you change the role that we are, how much you learn, and how much you apply that learning into the different skills or objective that your previous role give you. Even if you are a young professional where in your career you haven't dealt with geoscience and maybe you were a waiter or work in sales department while you were in college, the skills of dealing with people, of telling stories or connecting with persons to make a sale, to are skills that are transferable, especially nowadays where connections between people is more important than ever. Remember that we have to see a strong alignment between the target role that you want to apply, not only across words in the CV, but also when that will help you to express later on in the process when you go to the interview. Keep in mind that if you are going to submit your CV or resume to a person, it's different to put it online, where people tend to have a different attention span, and online there are some things called ATS friendly, which is automatic system that reads your CV and aligns the job description and selects and filter without any human intervention. Key elements when building a CV. Connect your skills and achievement with quantifiable data. I increased sales, I reduced costs, I found reservoirs, I characterized some specific horizons, or put the necessary information there where we can see information that is important and probably sometimes is kind of private that you can put in your CV, but is not to put it in LinkedIn, for example, because here we are looking into more quantifiable results. Always, again, always think if we are looking into a human or an automatic system. Use a document with simpler formats, simple compatibility, and check with compatibility. Here, there is a small example where it is great, where you see how to connect to you. What is your aim? What is your about? If you're coming from LinkedIn, make it short, make it valuable, and make it different. Later in this presentation, please avoid to use ChatGPT here. Yes, it will help you in the redaction, but you know how many people who use ChatGPT to do the same thing, and you know how the likelihood that all of them will read the same, well, is noticeable, okay? So keep that in mind. What to do when humans are reading. So this image is showing a heat map of how the human pays attention to your CV. So for the people focus on the experience role achievement, that's where you see those red spots. They look into your contribution. So make sure that you learn how to write a star, situation, task, action, and result. Please be no more than 40 words. People get distracted. You see all that text in the bottom of that is completely blank. As soon as a human eye see a bunch of words, we lose attention. Unfortunately, that's the case. And also because we are highly technical people, we like and love to put as much details as we want. However, in this first stage, especially if you know that that human that is going to read is someone from HR, is someone that is not as technically savvy as you, most likely they are going to jump. They focus only in the achievement in your role, and if you are a young professional, in your studies, in your college experience, okay? And please, please, this is very important for humans, don't make it more than 2 pages, all right? The next is, what is an ATS? That I already mentioned this a number of times, and it's very important. The ATS is the applicant tracking system, which is automated software that screens your resume behind, only uses words, and required friendly formatting. I understand that people, especially in the arts, especially in music, especially when you are a designer, you want to put your design into the CV format. But today we're talking here in the geoscience network. Make it as simple as you can. Very simple. Yes, might be boring, but make it, especially if you're applying online, make it that the ATS cannot get crazy and extract the information accordingly. Okay, because it's very important, because it aligns the needs, the job description, the needs of the employer with the capabilities and the skills that you have using only simple words. Okay, and usually nowadays it's the first line of screening before you even get to a human. Okay, it is important to indicate that machine learning is helping here, and nowadays these errors of formatting are becoming more rare. So at this point, I'm going to move to Adri. So Adri will talk to you about the importance of the cover letter and how it links to the CV or resume. Adri?
Yes, I'm here. Can you see me?
No, we cannot see you.
No,
yet.
we cannot see you.
Can you see me now? Oh. Okay, I'll just start. So I will talk about cover letters and the document tailoring, but I heard that we can use polls here. So let's start with a poll. This is just a random question. I want to see how this works. Could you please answer this question? Just a question, how do I know when everybody has answered?
Yeah, you guys just need to click on the option that feels more appropriate for you. You should be able to click on the option.
There is a lag between the presentation, so be a little bit patient, okay? It takes a couple of seconds.
Okay.
We can see your video now, Adri.
That's great. Okay. So I hope everybody had the chance to answer. I will move on to another question, and this is really about cover letters. So please select one answer. And I will give you a minute to answer. Just so that you know, I actually ran the same question in LinkedIn. So I would like to compare later on the answers between what this audience is. This audience's is the biggest cover letter barrier versus what people who responded in LinkedIn think it is. Okay. So let's see the answers. Okay, so the reason I asked this sales question is because even though a lot of us are from technology background, PhDs, masters, geophysics, etc., engineering, we often don't think that sales is very important, or we sometimes even think that it's not something that we want to talk much about. And here is very even the answer. However, when you are applying for a job, you are selling yourself. When you are proposing a new project, you are selling yourself. So get acquainted with sales, feel comfortable with sales, because they have very good tools, very useful tools for us. Biggest cover letter barrier. Relevant skill set, business impact, reframe skills for new sector. And 13% prefers not to write one, which I will try to change your mind about. It's interesting, in LinkedIn, up to yesterday night, the biggest barrier was reframing skills for new sector. But it's similar to the results that we just had here, even though for this audience it's demonstrate relevant skill set. And that might have something to do with the fact that our audience is mixed. Some of good percentage of the audience come from the academia, likely finishing your PhDs or masters or a geophysics related degree. And then we have also mid-career that might be trying to transition to a new type of job or into new energy solutions, for example, versus oil and gas. And then we have also people who have a mixed background, which is often harder to explain. But let's go to cover letters, which is what I was going to talk originally about here. And the first question was, should we write one, right? And some people say, I prefer not to do it. And if you are going to do a very generic cover letter, don't do it. That's pretty much the first answer. Now, the reality. Nowadays, we're thinking, okay, there's networking, there's a lot of opportunities with LinkedIn to say something, to show your face, there's other social media, there's the CVs and the resumes, and we all hear that AI is actually checking all these and deciding who is going to pass a given barrier. And even if it's not AI, it might be HR who does this. And yeah, that is all true. However, a recent study by HBR says that about, it was a study, but it's 50% of the cover letters are actually read by the hiring manager. And I can tell you, every time that I hired someone, even for internships, I read the cover letter, and the lack of a cover letter was disappointing. For me, it's more interesting to read first the cover letter, and if I find it interesting, then to go to the CV. Of course, there has been already a selection process before it arrived to me, and that's where the AI and HR person will come in. So you need to remember these two things. But your cover letter is really your best opportunity to connect the dots between your past, which is your CV, and your future, which is the job that you're applying for or the opportunity you're looking for. It's also your opportunity to provide context. I have used cover letters even to ask for a role that doesn't exist. The first time I did it was as an intern, to get an internship in a company that didn't provide internships for foreigners, and they gave me an internship. So you can use it for so many purposes, but it's a forward-looking, that's your future, and yet that's your narrative, that's your sales point. Your background, your CV still is your sales point, and you have to ensure that you have some keywords that will pass the AI, the HR checks. But for example, if you're in a transition, your CV might not have some of these keywords well explained. And that's when you can transfer that relevance, that clarity into something that matters at your CV, in your cover letter, so that people understand why you're applying, why you matter for this job, or how much you really like or want to work there. So, next slide. There. So, action plan is, cover letters should be part of your action plan, so that you get to a future role. Anything that you want, any goal that you're trying to achieve, you need a strategy for it. So, what's your strategy? Is it just to write a CV? Is it a generic CV that you want to send to everyone? That's not really a good strategy. Is it a generic cover letter? That's not a good strategy. You need to have an action plan, and you have to use it to sell yourself as the future best employee, as the employee that they have been waiting for, or as the employee that has all the potential to be successful in that company and to bring business to that company, to bring a better ROI, return on investment. Remember, the companies are thinking about money. You need to translate whatever you are selling, which is yourself, your skills, your background, and your potential, into that language, into the language that matters to them. So things that you should do is active language in your cover letter. Keep it to 1 page. That's very important. In some situations, you can extend it if you actually know who's going to be reading it, or if you have a very, very clear purpose, but it's not recommended. Try to keep it to one page. Target each letter. You need to target it to make it sound that you're talking to that company. That's very important, or to that hiring manager, or to that group, or to the job post that you're applying to. These are standards that still matter. Fonts, these are the most readable fonts and easy to read in different formats. This is the recommended size point according to a lot of literature, and margins. And then some of the don'ts is, don't restate your resume. Just don't say, okay, this is as in my resume, or restating whatever you had in your resume. You have to tell a story. You have to give examples. You have to say something that matters to the reader. Again, generic letters are not recommended at all. And be precise. You want to preferably even have metrics to say, as a student, I was the editor of this newsletter, and I increased the visibility of science by, changing the amount, and you need to say what's the amount. When I started, there was only one article every 3 months about science, and by the end, there were this amount of articles about science. Or I invited writers from the alumni, whatever you did, but try to be specific that you had that growth and that change. Let's move on. So key parts, why are you writing the letter? So what's your goal? Is it to apply for a job that doesn't exist, that is not listed? Who they are, who you are, and a strong closing. In the past, it was normal to start with, I am writing to apply to X job. If you're applying to that job, they already know you're applying to that job. So you're wasting a paragraph, your entry paragraph. So start with a hook. Say why that job excites you. What is your core value that resonates for that company? Drop a name. If somebody recommended you, somebody internally sent you that position and said, hey, maybe you should apply, then say, this person recommended me to apply. Ask talk to that person and say that, is it okay to use your name? It's your moment to draw their attention, to start your sales pitch. So that's your leading part. Then you have to focus. Why them? Again, you can drop a name. If you are a student, you can, for example, say something about, let's say you're a student doing PhD, doing research. Maybe you admire one of the researchers, and it would be, you have been following the research, you have been actually working in the same area, or using their research as background to your PhD, then say, I mean, I have great admiration for this person, and working in your company will allow me to have to learn even more, or whatever. The point is, tell them that you know the company. Use your research here. If you are in sales, you know that you have to know business intelligence. You have to know about your clients, sometimes even more than they do. So check the news, research them, read about them, attend their conferences, say why they matter. And if you have a personal connection, like your grandfather worked in that company or worked in this industry, and you really feel connected to that, especially in an early career, do that. If you are in a more advanced moment, then you should act in your career, then you should, well, I would recommend you to know about the challenges, to know about the recent news, whether they are expanding, they are merging with another company, whether they are, what's the biggest project, their biggest investment, their biggest risk. Try to know about them and say, I know you. That's what you're doing in that part. Then why me? You need to highlight your skills. And again, be specific. If you are in pretty much at any stage, you can say, this is part of my career goals. You don't say it that way. You say, my ambition is to be this, and that, and working in your company will enable me this, and that. My background provided me these skills, and I think I can bring them to your company to aid at your business. And be specific. Again, if you have been working on inversion, for example, well, say how much your method or your work or your knowledge matters to reduce uncertainty in their subsurface mapping, in their drilling. If you are transitioning, how your de-risking and working with uncertainty skills can be transferred directly into their field. If it's CCS that you're applying for, and you have been working on oil and gas, and you can translate very easily whatever you have been doing to why it matters to them and what you're excited about this. You can bring in sustainability, different things that you care for. If it's geothermal you're applying for, well, and you come again in a transition, then wells, drilling, de-risking, that's very well connected to wells, to decision making. Again, mid-careers, you need to be even more specific, and you need to start showing some more strategic thinking. And if you are in a more senior role, you need to start being more enterprise level. You need to demonstrate that you understand the constraints, that you understand that an investment, if it's done in one area, it means that you had to prioritize, and you might have had taken a decision. If you were involved in a multi-year, multi-million-dollar project, and you had to take tough decisions because there were drill drop decisions to be made at a certain timeline, meaning drilling a well or drop the license, or because the money was reduced, or the path that you were following and you were leading in a cross-border group or multidisciplinary group, if you had to take a tough decision and change the scope, talk about this and actually say something about the money, whether it had a monetary effect, whether it have a timeline effect, whether it have a quality effect, how you manage these three things. And then a call for action at the end. You say, again, why you are so enthused about this and your objective. Is it an interview that you're looking for? Is it a conversation? Is it to try to match your skills with their business challenges? You can also offer the path that, I mean, you're open to other positions. It could be that you're applying to that role because you couldn't see a role that actually matches your expertise, but you're really open to other positions because you really want to work for them. So let me move on, because otherwise I will keep talking forever in this slide. Oh. Okay, we already talked about this. Now, details that matter. I already said that this is a sales role. In this moment, you are selling yourself. So in the cover letter, if you are a sales professional and you want to think as a sales professional, these are things that a sales professional will value. This is what you need to be clear in your head before you start writing your cover letter. Business intelligence, know your client, know your audience, and actionable data, things that matter. They just had a blow up in a field. They had a big challenge or they had a huge success. There's so many things. Investment is going into their company. They changed their HSC, something in HSC. They are changing they are promoting more gender equality, whatever you want to point at that matters. Clear value propositions. You need to have yourself, your value propositions yourself. Goal setting, you need to have goals, because without goals, you don't have strategy. Without strategy, you didn't write a good cover letter. Performance metrics. So if your cover letters or your CV is not getting answers, then you're doing something wrong. That's your metric. Do more research, read, contact someone, hire someone to invest in your own career, to get coached. Communication and relationship skills. Network, communicate with people, be curious. If you know someone in a company that you applied for a job, in which you apply for a job, call that person, ask them if they know about the role, how is it to work there. If they interview you, you can say, okay, I had this conversation with this person, and say something. You need to have, they will have sales technology. You can use technology, and we have talked already about AI. We started to talk about AI with Julio, but there will be more coming in if I manage to get to the next slide. So what are you gonna look for when you do research? Of course, job description. If there is a job that you're applying for, you need to read that job description. Check keywords that you can use, that you can repeat perhaps or reframe some of your skills, some of your bullet points in your CV and in your cover letter or any other document. Keywords, you can use that. Company values, mission, vision. Does that align with you? Think carefully, because if you really end up working for them, you need to feel that you align with that. You can also talk with someone and say, does it reflect in the culture of the company as well? Relevant persons, your network, people that you know, people that you admire, people that speak for that company, their CEO, latest latest speech about their investment and their performance, quarter reviews, current challenges, priorities, successes, both of you and of your company that you're applying for, latest publications, vocabulary and tone. Try to don't break or contrast too much with their way, their language, their vocabulary, their tone. Connect the dots between yourself and that goal, which is getting that company. Remember, you're applying for a job in a company that, because at the end of the day, they want to make money. So you need to match things in an economical way. And remember, again, your value proposition, and try to state it clearly early on, your value proposition for that company or for that role. Yeah, so this is what we saw in the early on. I have talked already about reframing skills, but I have a little bit more about it. So in some situations, it is about a market cycle, it is about a layoff. When you have to reframe the narrative, you have to, you don't focus on that part. So, but the first part is you need to reframe it inside yourself. Also, if you're trying to transition into a new company, or if you're transitioning from academia to industry, or if you want to go back to the academia, that's a transition, that's a change. So get the context for yourself so you feel comfortable. So if you had a layoff, well, what's the context? The energy industry has been always cyclical. Oil prices crashes, technology disruptions, geopolitical shocks, but get over any shame that you might have. If you don't get over that, it will be much harder for you to sell yourself. So often that is a struggle for people who have had a layoff. or who went to a company that was a bad fit and want to move very fast to another company and start searching for a job. You don't need to say much or to feel bad about it. Some changes are good, some are bad, and sometimes there's a bad fit and there's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing wrong with you or the company that you're working for. Again, remember, even if the market has shifted, or if you made a choice that was not the best choice for you or for family, or the circumstances changes, your competence has not changed, it stays. Toolbox, again, you want the job, your toolbox and your strategy is, among other things, targeted cover letters, targeted CVs, and the same with other documents. Sometimes nowadays they ask you questions. So in some of the job posts, answer those questions as if you were in the interview, as if you were really trying to demonstrate and you really wanted, not trying, supporting your CV with your skill set, with your experience. Be responsible when you're doing this. Now, how many letters? Yeah, you need to have one per company. However, if you really work this very well for one company, it's much easier to make changes for the next company. And so for some of them, if they are very similar within the same sector, very similar roles, is minor changes you have to make, especially the YM part. If not, if you're applying to very different roles or you are in a more advanced stage of your career, you need to perhaps think a little bit more. Now, if you cannot be bothered to fine-tune your cover letter or your CV or answer those questions properly, then maybe you don't really want that job. Think about that. You need to prioritize your time again. Toolbox and strategy. You can enhance your research with AI, but you need to know your AI, train your AI. It's the same as when we're training machine learning models for subsurface mapping. You need to train them and you need to know that they know what you gave them. And even with LLMs, you need to train them how you want them to update your documents. You don't really want them to write your document because they will sound generic. If I see too many fostering word, fostered, I know there was a ChatGPT behind. You can train them when you're using them. You have to learn how to prompt. You can just ask a question. You can just say, fix this letter, or you can say, I want you to be this specific, a copywriter. I want you to be a PA for an executive. I want you to be a geophysicist who knows my resume, here's my resume, etc. And often, the best thing is that you write your first version, not often. This is really a recommendation. You decide how much you want it to be updated, if anything, and you say explicitly to ChatGPT or to Gemini that you want your own voice, that you don't want too many updates, or that you want options, suggestions, and you select those. You edit, you proofread, you want it to read like you. Now, there's for this prompting, you should be all very familiar with this, but you need to, as a minimum, tell early on to whatever tool you're using, particularly these two, not as much for Notebook LM. What is your persona? What is the persona that you're asking that AI tool to be? What is the task that you're asking them to solve? Rules. This is a computer, it's a machine. What is the context? What is the format that you're expecting? And you can also put boundaries. Whether anything that they give you, for example, in research, that they can justify with a link and a proper literature. You can let them hallucinate, and then you have to be much more careful, because all these tools will make inferences. Some of them will even write things that are not true. So you need to be very certain. For research, Notebook LM is quite useful as well, because as a minimum, you are the one in charge of the sources. You decide which sources you're providing for Notebook LM to give you an overview of those particular sources, not anything outside. but there's still inferences. So you still need to know what you're talking about and what you're reading. You still need to do your research, but you can accelerate it and use it. Now, if you haven't done so, this is just for ChatGPT, but it's the same for other tools. Check the settings. There's, for example, this personalization part in ChatGPT where you can talk about the style that you want and the tone, certain instructions. You can say how you want them to call you, what's your occupation. You can even put your elevator pitch there if you want to. You have to decide how to use it. And you can also use projects where you can add files, and within that project, you can decide other constraints, those boundaries that I was talking about. And with that, I think these questions should be more clear in your mind right now. And I will let Julio continue with AI for job hunting.
Excellent, Audrey. Thank you very much. And I can see every time, and when I was a job, I was hiring people, the importance of the cover letter is there, especially when you connect with the text and then connect with the interview. There is no barrier there. You have done like 90% of the job to get that work or that description to you. So thank you very much. So now we are going to see AI tools. In a quick, in the just chat, in the quick, in the general chat, can you type 1 if you have used AI and 0 if you haven't? Let's do a quick review so I can see how in the chat how to judge the audience a little bit, because I know some of you are into academia, some of you are young professionals or intern or very young after, and some others are senior managers or looking into mid-career. So let's talk about it. Let's do it quickly. Let's see. Okay, I see a lot of 1s, so that's great. Christiana, 0, perfect. That will help. So with these AI tools that I'm going to talk are the ones that are usually free and they are available for everybody. Carla 1, Victoria 1, excellent. Keep it going for a couple minutes. And hopefully, but keep in mind that there are AI tools that are specialized for CV, cover letter, and even for the entire workflow of applying for a job. LinkedIn also, in their payware part, they provide also AI tools that can help. Now, Kyla, number 1, that's great. Okay, so I'm going to address a lot of comments right now, and I'm going to focus the attention on our way of working with AI and job hunting. Okay, so next questions. When you use AI for job hunting, what is your main goal? Come on, let's do that. We have right now a quick pool here. So to judge what it's about, but later on in this presentation, I will go through the entire workflow that I have done. And I have created this workflow like 4 years ago for mentoring processes specific, and has been an evolution, a constant evolution. When I mentor people, when I bring new tools, and when I have new ways to communicate. So AI is one of those, okay? So let's submit here your questions. When you are using AI for job hunting, what is your main goal? Come on, let's do it. Let's give a couple more minutes. All right, all right, all right. Let's give it a try. Probably I've seen some, come Come on. Okay, let's see. Let's move and see the results where we are. I see that only half of you have answered. Do you want more time? Click the option in the presentation and then vote, okay? Okay, we are getting to 62, that's great. 62%. Excellent. Let's move and see the results, okay? Okay. So most of you are looking for a strong CV. And the next part is going to be better cover letters and better research company. Well, I have to say you, and I'm going to bring it to you, that job hunting nowadays, like Adri mentioned, is to tell your story. So all of these dots, all of these sections need to be connected from your LinkedIn page all the way to your interview, okay? And AI tools are going to help us too. For those people who think that the AI tools are to copy my CV, paste it, copy the job description and paste it and let ChatGPT do it for you, you are into the majority of people, okay? And that won't give you the advantage, okay? And I will explain many reasons why, okay? First of all, it is really important to get our AI ethics and best practices. Use AI as a support. Always review, personalize, and verify its accuracy. Never fabricate skills or rely 100% on AI-generated content. Never. And be transparent in interviews about your responsible use of AI. Okay? Recommended usage, 60% of AI for drafting, grammar, spelling, and optimization. Julio, why 60% if you're telling me to be more accurate, more personal? Well, because 60% of your time, usually, at least in my personal view and with the people that I have shared before, is to break that inertia of starting to write, to sit down and check our objective, to put myself into there in the mindset to start to collect the data and to write it down. However, that 40% of personalization, sometimes it is facilitated by the verbiage, by the information that comes from these different tools. I understand that it's scary for some people, okay? However, once the secret of AI got released to the common people, it cannot be unknown. It is there. Take advantage of that because others are doing it. So always keep your content authentic and accurate. So I'm going to share with you, and I'm going to go to the details of this job search workflow in 7 steps. So some of your comments and questions are going to be answered here. Okay, in general, if you are a savvy person on AI, this will be enough. However, I took the step to go into the details. And even at the end of this presentation, we are going to share the link of one of the prompts that I recommend, and it's been recommended through the years. They are standard, they are generic. So make your own prompts after you see this conversation and this presentation. So personal preparation as a first step is that audit of achievement of yourself. There are 2 tools that I recommend to use, that is Notebook KLM and Perplexity for here. Why I'm recommending those 2? Because those 2 tend to use the information available rather than going outside to the internet. If you want to know to yourself, each of these tools you will put your documents yourself there and you review Why? Well, especially for those in senior careers, in looking for those transferable skills. Bring all your CVs, bring all your documentation, come and see how you have performed. For the young professionals, probably this is not a big deal because you are coming out of college, universities, or target. In preparation also can come all that necessary review and benchmark of the companies that have the skills that you have. It is ideal to do that. Say, hey, I'm a very strong in seismic interpretation. Which companies are looking for seismic interpretation today? And they will do that benchmark for you and expose you not only for the big one, the Schlumbergers, the Bakers, the so on, but also to the small companies like the Rock Dog, or any of these companies that are very small. That will help with the targeted position where you align your skills, your goals, and the career path. LinkedIn is really good here in the job search. When it's time to create your CV resume as a third step, you can use Notebook, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Teal, or JobScan, to name some, to check these ATS checklists to see how aligned they are. Okay, then we come to the step number 4, which is the review and refinement. Ensure coherence. Don't use here any AI. You, the human, edit it. Make it personal. Here is when you are going to stamp yourself. Is when you're going to shy your way to have your own narrative, to express yourself, to make it personal. And in this case, if you're able to find this evasive manager who is the higher manager, here is to where you try to connect with him. So you have social media. Get it all aligned. Social media and this thing, LinkedIn, get everything aligned. Use LinkedIn as the big, like Adri mentioned, in the sales mindset. You have that the biggest cone of intervention to capture the most amount of people is going to be LinkedIn, to make it generic, but make it approachable, make it that searchable, make it attractive for the big audience. Once you have a position and you know what are your goals, make your CV, your resume, and your cover letter focus on the details that make you different. And that's where you need to excel on selling yourself. But this is a brochure. This is a piece of paper. So now you have to prepare for the interview where human meet the other human. Unfortunately, nowadays, sometimes humans need another AI, which is a video that you need to do. Also, remember where the camera is, because it pays attention if you're seeing the camera or seeing the ceiling. Okay, so prepare using your files, using your job description, all the information that you collected in the previous steps, put it together and say, AI, can you generate questions? Challenge me, hard questions, apply to this company. What are the questions that we have? And in here, ChatGPT and Gemini, which are known for hallucinations and creativity beyond what they want, can give you very interesting questions that you can use to practice and learn how to answer them. And finally, if you are organized, especially nowadays, use a tracking application. So let's go to the details right now. And I'm going to try to move and take advantage of the time. Okay, so I mentioned already that some of the AI tools that we have for free are KLM, which is part of Google, Gemini, which is part of Google. Why not put KLM? If you have videos from YouTube, you can connect it there. You can connect all the necessary information. Gemini is being a very strong and is becoming a way more trustable AI tool to extract skills and to refine wording. ChatGPT is great for drafting early ways, and like Adri mentioned, if you know how to train and create a ChatGPT agent with all the description, which by the way, Gemini, Perplexity, and all of these have similar tools as well available for you, it will help you to draft your CV, your cover letter, and your interview preparation with Q&As. Okay, Perplexity, ideal for general research or even deep research of firms. Like Adri mentioned, if you want to connect to that professor that has the PhD that you are looking for in CCS, because you want to go all the way to CCS capture because you are going to go to sub-sal and very specific. Perplexity will give you which are the papers, we are the publications, where the situation is there, who are the key players, at least the ones that publish it online, and the data is very accurate and up to date. So, step one, personal preparation. What to do? Conduct a comprehensive skill audit. Take all your skills. What are your skills? Take that information that you have from your school, your syllabus. Take all that, your transcripts of your notes. There is information that you sometimes forgot. For example, by preparing myself a couple of years to do this part of the presentation, I learned that I was really good in organic chemistry. It's part of my skill set. Did I forget? No, I didn't forget, because every time I have some kind of thermodynamics problem, the skill is there. However, it was never mentioned in my CV or my LinkedIn. So I bring it down, bring those certifications that maybe, especially for us senior manager or senior that we are late in our career, there are skills there that we used to handle, and for some reasons or turns of life we forgot about. Gather quantifiable metrics, numbers, revenue impact, cost saving, all this information that you even sometimes have of your company assessments. Yes, I know that there are some privacy keys here, but know how to desensitize, take all the privacy out and bring the core and help you say, okay, yes, my role as a geoscience was to help in the discovery of such a target elsewhere in the world, in the East or in Asia or in sub-Saharan Brazil or in the Gulf of Mexico. Bring that information to you. Collect all the academic credentials, degrees, coursework, put it there. Like Adri mentioned, train your agent there so you can have and bring that information to show up in your eyes, because we forget. For young professionals, it's okay. This personal preparation can be more focused into other skills, how to transfer those skills of those junior jobs, those jobs that I did before getting into my career. You know what is surprising sometimes? That here in the geoscience, I learned, especially since I moved to Houston, that there are people that study arts as a major in college, but then they move to the geoscience as a part of postgraduate studies, and they are here and they are part of us. And you know what? That is showing some way that how especially Americans have that flexibility of moving those skills because they know and they tend to do this personal preparation. So the outcome is to have a comprehensive master document of your own professional inventory. Organize. You see here where your skills lay. Okay. The next step will be, and I recommend Notebook ALM and Perplexity both for organizing this data. Target positions. And here is, I think Lorenzo have some question about it. So here, by using the LinkedIn tools, Perplexity or Notebook, you can see that evasive manager, contract manager. Probably you're not going to find the name and number and the last name. However, you will see who these people are. You don't need to see exactly who they are. You can see what are their background. You can see if they are there working for X or Y company. So identify, and here is very important, don't go for crazy and finding any job with a similar description. Identify 5 to 10 targets that are aligned to these skills that you developed before. Research the company, like Adri mentioned, mission, vision, post, latest news, research, look into and understand the culture. For those that are senior position, this is really important because as senior position, we don't go here to test our technical skills. As a senior now, we are looking into those people who align with our culture, not for today, but to see the future and how to drive the company towards whatever is the objective of the company in the short, middle term. Analyze those job descriptions. Use those skills as a scientific to identify the keywords. AI can help you to bring those ATS words into showing up, referring qualifications, cross-check the information. Tools to use, like I mentioned, LinkedIn, Perplexity, Notebook. I know that most of these have they are free, but if they are not, plan a way to take advantage. Learn to use it before you start using the paid version. So the target positions, you have to have these 5 to 10 positions. Save it there, put it together, overlap your profile, check everything. CV, resume, once you have these two main documents, the ones with your skills, the ones with the target positions, now let's start to tailor your CV, tailor your resume to apply for this position. Optimize with the ATS, bring the ATS out. Remember to keep the format easy. AI can help you with that, okay? Ensure that you are putting together all these quantifiable achievements, that the skills are there. Learn how to use the STAR method: situation, task, action, results. The situation, exploration in the Gulf of Mexico. Task, to study the Cretaceous blah, blah, blah reservoir. Action, use this technical tool, use this software, use a rock dog to do a seismic inversion. Result, we found that the reservoir was mainly gas or condensate or whatever is the information that we have, which is targetable with a size reservoir or this amount of quantity of flow exploration. Put it there. Of course, some of this information can be private, can be closed by the company, but you can put there that we did a substantial finding that helped to increase the capital of this company. Something that is public. And even in sometimes, if you are within this company and you achieve this result, talk to HR and tell them, okay, I want to share this value that I add into the company. How can I put it in an open way so I can help to sell myself? Make sure that you have a simple format when you finish with a resume. Adri also mentioned there some of the examples. Make sure with dates. Dates are critical because one of the things that the AI tools look is for gaps in those dates. And if you use the wrong format and the AI doesn't understand it, poof, can kick you out. Tools to use, no AKLM. Again, paste your master CV, target job description, chat with it, especially under your subnet notebook called Job Hunting 2026. Put all that information there because that stops the tool from going and search information online. That's where the hallucination happen. Try to keep it close. ChatGPT, again, this is the most creative one. Even if you try to parameterize it, be careful with the ChatGPT, please. Be careful. Perplexity, research the hiring manager's name. Can you find it? No, it's okay. Can you find the different managers that you have there? Let's say I want to apply for X or Y PhD, and there is a number of PhD professors there. Okay, let's see. Let's talk to them. Let's find what publication they have done. Find what being their value. Okay? So Teal, resume job builder and job scan are a couple of the tools that I told you that are very specific for the job hunting, but they might not be as relevant nowadays that as they used to be 2 or 3 years ago. Okay, again, play with the free versions first before committing to pay even for a couple of months. Okay, use YouTube, use the social media to learn the tools before applying and working. I understand that some of you, maybe these are new names. I know it takes a little bit of time, but get used to, because probably some form of these tools will be used in your next role within the company. So for each target role as an outcome, remember one tailored resume of 1 or 2 pages and one customized cover letter, no more than 4 paragraphs, and make sure that when you test for ATH match, which you can prompt in whatever of these tools, give you a percentage greater than 75%. So here is our step 4, review and refinement. People, focus people. Although I mentioned that people is primordial here, okay, you still have Gemini, JobScan, cross use the different platform. If you do something in ChatGPT, then go to Gemini and check it, and vice versa. Okay? Make sure that you read. Is a coherent story about yourself? Are your achievements quantified? Are you there? Make sure that make it human, please, because everybody nowadays, more than 70% of the application is just a copy paste from ChatGPT. You don't want to be there. You want to be different, and to be different, you need to have claims that are accurate, that are honest, that are verifiable, because recruiters also have these AI tools to check your LinkedIn profile, to check what you have. Okay? Check grammar, spelling, and formatting. That in my case is one of the things that I struggle the most. Probably because of multiple languages in my head, whatever is the reason. Know yourself and check grammar, spelling. We used to have that point before that it was so important. Now there is no reason to have grammar or spelling mistakes in your CV. There is no reason. You have these tools. Okay? Add another human. Bring your friend, your ex-colleague, your ex-boss. Bring someone and read it together. Why? Well, one is connections. AI cannot connect you with people. And probably even though it was a person from the past or your present, help to foster these connections with people. Okay? Run a final ATS check, maybe if you want, and that's where I put here, once after you do all your human edit and everything, probably job scan here can give you a very accurate point. But again, don't rely too much on these AIs. I'm helping here to elevate the floor, but what it makes a difference is that you sense, with all the information that you have collected, sense how the floor is, sense the people, sense the job. For young professionals and guys in the academia, don't be afraid to bring your experiences into this coherent story. If you were a waitress, if you were a car sales guy, if you used to be selling coffee, bring whatever it is important and relevant in your skill set to this job. Probably you have a one-page CV. Probably all this step doesn't make. Probably your brain is you are easier to learn with these AI tools. Be careful and be unique. Don't rely on them. Okay? The next step is the LinkedIn and social media. Make sure that you have everything coherent. Don't tell me that you want to be a sales and you are applying for a job in project ownership and your LinkedIn is about that you like rock climbing. Okay? If it's possible, separate your personal social media with your professional social media when it's not about LinkedIn. If you have your page and you have your blog and you have whatever it is, the social media that you use, keep it separate. Why? Because these AI tools that I'm introducing to you on the other part of the battleship, the recruiters, they also have AI tools and they check for this automatically. It's not a human that is going to sit there. It's just there. Okay, so make sure that your profile in LinkedIn is aligned and tailored to your generic skill set, to your remember, is the way to promote you in LinkedIn. It's like, for example, as a car, Toyota, you show Toyota there, but your CV needs to be, okay, it's a SUV because I'm applying to a family member, or is for, I don't know, for a very middle-aged guy who wants a sport car, then I will go and put the Toyota Supra for him. Okay, that's the difference. LinkedIn is your brand, Toyota, Julio Monsalve. And then when you apply, you go to the details. Okay, but they need to be coherent. Don't say that your brand is Toyota and you are trying to sell a Ferrari, okay, or a Formula One car. So make sure that your profile is up to date. Make sure you have a picture. People fail. Companies fail. We need to see the human, especially now there are so many bots in social media. Put a professional smile there. Make a compelling about section. Don't go to ChatGPT, I have my CV, write me an about section. No, make it personal. Probably do it as first and then customize it, check about it, make it relevant for the things that you want. Look for endorsement, request recommendations, contact colleague. The quality of your connections in LinkedIn are important. Make sure that you curate them. Okay? Publish content, be active, join industry groups. These are activities that will be there and will help you to promote yourself. Again, tools to use, be a human, not another ChatGPT guy. Use Perplexity, Gemini, use job scanners, use tools to help you to put the base, but you will make the difference, okay? A fully optimized LinkedIn profile with a professional photo, keyword-rich headline in the About section. These are the output that you are looking for, okay? Be engaged. Interview preparation, and here is one of the best values that I have learned so far in this time when I mentor about these AI tools. You prepare between 5 and 7 stories about, again, start, situation, task, action, result. And then with the job description, with the research that you did in the company, with the research that you did in the different people who are hiring or are in the same bracket of work that you want to do, you bring all this information and say to ChatGPT, go free. Ask me hard questions, middle questions, questions about reservoir, questions about economics, questions about whatever you want, whatever you think, and ChatGPT will put you there and learn how to answer those questions. Practice, practice, practice. And there are some tools like I think ChatGPT, you can talk to them and they will read your questions and read the way you ask, the way you answer, and then learn about it. Okay, remember you're using here all this information. I know it's a handful for us that we have some experience. For you guys, the young professionals, is there to be exposed to these hard questions. Remember, when you are a young professional, we are looking for people who are not afraid to make mistakes, for people that are looking to learn the role, to connect, to be there as a sponge to gather knowledge. For people who are going to be more experienced with senior, and people, we are looking for those with guidance to mentor, to connect more people, to connect outside your role, connect beyond the defenses of your company. If you are looking for leadership, here is when those questions about how important the culture is, where this company wants to go, how am I going to influence people to reach that goal in the 5 years time, how am I deal with the stress, and how I handle the stress to others. That's what leaders do. I know for those who are really good in college, that are junior guys, young professionals, that I want to be a manager now, but they don't know how to learn your level of stress or your anxieties. That's a skill that you need to learn. And the AI cannot give it to you, but can test it with questions. All right. So the output from here is to have these 5 to 7 very good star stories. They need to be your stories, not the AI stories. Make sure these are your stories with 10 to 15 common interview questions, company research, and 5 to 10 thoughtful questions to ask to the interviewer, because an interview is a dual communication. They are testing you how to express, but as a good salesman, tell you how to hear. Like, there is a say that I learned here in the US. We have two ears, and that's for a reason, and one mouth, because we need to listen double and talk less. So the interview will be looking for your thoughtful questions to the company. Be prepared on that. And this is something that separates you from whatever average person is applying there. Application tracking. Well, this is for people if you are organized. There are tools there. Have a diary. Personally, probably a spreadsheet is enough. Why is this important? Well, because you need to remember where you have applied. I have seen cases, especially in the current DNA, that people apply a year and then the company comes after 2 years later and say, hey, by the way, we applied for you. You saw that you applied for us 2 years ago. Are you still interested? You forget about that. That, of course, that's a very extreme example, especially, but that happens especially when you are applying to small companies. Okay? So do your application tracking and focus on things that are relevant for you. LinkedIn is great for that. You can see all the different versions that you have created. Please, just if it's valuable for you, just do it. All right. So what are the successful metrics across all these steps? When one is quality over quantity. Please make sure you have really good 10 highly tailored applications that are applying to hundreds of jobs. Yes, I know it is hard, especially in current economic downturns. Okay? Remember, the 60% AI of your time is not about you. It's about how to extract all the available information that is outside there. Use it for drafting and optimization. Never forget your human storytelling. And to be there, be 100% authentic. I know that these 7 steps look hard. I know, and please, you can simplify this step to fit your knowledge, to your experience. But please be authentic. It is really hard to see that after all this process, and as an employer myself, to go all through this hard work for both, for the applicant and for me, to select lie in their application. Okay. Nowadays, there are tools that recruiters are learning more about this. Be consistent. Ensure that all your materials, your resume, your cover letter, your LinkedIn, your interview responses, they all tell the same coherent story. And always keep learning. There is no way around. Keep learning. For humans, the 3 C that employers are seeking, regardless of your seniority, is connectivity. Don't forget to get close to all your fellow humans. Connect through LinkedIn, connect through whatever tools you have. But there is a caveat there. Connected online is not the same as connecting in person. Go back to connect in person. Remote connections are not working as well as they used to. Be curious. Be always eager to learn always be the person who asks the right questions. Again, during your interviews, connect to the other side by asking key questions. Be curious about that in your own life once you start the role, before starting the role, after starting the role. You know what? Because AI is not curious. AI just gives you the information. Curation. Know how to choose wisely, not only the sources of information, not only the people, but also the matter, the things that matter for you, the things that, everybody is using AI, assumes that. So make it as strategic as part of your decision making, because this environment is getting complex and complex. Unfortunately, with the release of AI, that say of let's find the needle in the haystack, AI is making the haystack bigger, okay? There's no way around. There's more information. There is more trash outside. We need to learn about those things. And to us, for being human, curiosity, connectivity, and curation, that is really important. Finally, I found these memes online. You don't lose your job to a tractor, said the farmer to the horse. You will lose that to a horse who knows how to tractor. We are not horses, we are humans. Or are we dancers? But the answer is in your interview. Adri, here, take it from here.
Yes, so the first thing is a poll again. So what's hardest to answer? Behavioral questions, leadership and business impact, explaining sector change, limited industry exposure, asking your own questions. And I will take this time while you're answer these to tell you something I forgot. After you have an interview, we're talking about interviews now, but I talked about documents earlier. Ensure to send a thank you note. Be brief, but send a thank you note. It will make you stand like in a much better light against other persons, because it's not common to do it, and it's formal courtesy. Also, is your chance to say something that you wanted to say in the interview, or that you felt you didn't really narrate it properly. It's a chance where you can correct that very briefly and be very careful with how you use that, but you can use it for that purpose. But always send a thank you note. Okay, so we have the answers. We're missing a few, so I will give you a little bit more time. Again, we passed the documents, but remember that you have to translate value on paper to reach the room. Once that you do that and you reach the room, then it's all about how you are going to relate to the other person, what you're going to say, how you're going to answer the questions, and the questions that you will ask. And your job is to convince the company that you're the best person for that job. So again, you're selling yourself. And please say that to yourself before going to the interview. You can also bring some notes and just read your highlights of just to ensure that you are in the best mindset. Let's see the answers. Oh, we don't have the answers yet? No, later. Okay, so these are the answers that I got in LinkedIn in my sample test. And it was interesting because explaining sector change was reframing skills for new sector was the highest one in cover letter barrier and the lowest one in interviews. And this might sound contradicting, but I think this is sequencing. The hardest part is getting through the document filter. And once that you're in the interview, the sector change is secondary. They already want to talk to you, right? So the real challenge shifts to business impact, leadership thinking, understanding of the company, of your role within that organization, and the impact that you can provide. So let's move on. There's also in LinkedIn, I saw this demonstrate relevant skill set, leadership, business impact, limited industry exposure. So there was a correlation there between the cover letters and the interviews. So some of the things that you need to remember in terms of these points: you're not hired, or they don't want to hire you because of your thesis if you're a recent graduate. You're hired for the decisions that your thesis will enable. You don't say, I modeled an isotropic wave propagation. You say, my work helps reduce uncertainty in subsurface interpretation. My methodology and skill set help improving decision confidence on their incomplete data. And you need to know what decision that means. So if you are applying for oil and gas, you need to understand in upstream, you will need to really know the exploration and production value chain. So are you in a regional part? Is a decision to explore more into that region and decide whether it's good for frontier, which is not very common these days. You're in frontier area where there's very limited data and is a lot of speculation. There's no drills, there's no wells, there's no information that is very speculative. Are you already in a much more advanced phase, and what is the decision that they will take with your work? Is it is it a drill drop decision? Is it entering an area? Is it an investment decision? Is it licensing the area for exploration, for production? Is it adding another well because it is late phase in production and they're finding too much water, or no, extracting too much water rather than hydrocarbons? Is it about containment of CO2? What is it about? What decision is it that you are influencing? For mid-career, you're not evaluated in terms of output alone, is judgment and influence. So in your interview, you want to say how you think, you want to let them know how you make decisions, how you manage uncertainty. For seniors, you are evaluated on a risk calibration, strategic foresight, and you're really evaluated in the quality of questions that you will ask, your strategic curiosity, your understanding of business drivers, knowledge of capital markets. What did they say in their capital markets meeting to their investors? What is your profit and loss experience? Are comfortable with balance sheets, investment decisions, return on investment, portfolio management? You have examples. And let's move to the next slide. So framing, when you are answering questions or tell you about you, is not just I have 10, 20 years processing seismic data. You have to say something that matters to them. So that translates into quantitative risk and uncertainty management, cross-function and project leadership. You have a commercial role in terms of decision influence, and commercial, and it's capital intensive, it's multi-year, multi-physics, large-scale data analysis, management, governance, that can talk to so many different industries. Software commercialization, or 2D to 3D to 4D visualization or modeling, etc. This is something that I want you to remember. Your physicists often underestimate how powerful their skills are. You need to not underestimate them, but translate them. Help other people understand how powerful you are. So the interview is what's the hardest to answer. Okay, this is a very interesting shift to what we got on LinkedIn. So here is a lot about behavioral questions, and then is leadership and business impact, limited industry exposure, and asking your own questions. Yeah, this one was terrifying. Not terrifying, that's a wrong word. I have never really been terrified by that, but I remember the very first time that I had an interview, and that was for a job while I was in undergrad. and they asked me to ask my own questions. It was like, oh my God, I was not ready for that. So, but I'll tell you how to get there. This is what the interviewer wants you to know. No, sorry, they want to know from you. Can you do the job? Do you have relevant competence? Will you create friction? So, for example, energy companies will want collaboration under pressure, under limited timelines, understanding of thresholds, right? Like understanding of what you have to prioritize. I mean, are you prioritizing quality? Are you prioritizing time? Are you prioritizing cost? What is the balance that you need to look for a specific project? Are you a good fit? It's about culture and values. That's more about as well about the behavioral questions. Do you understand capital discipline? You understand that this is a business. And this is particularly important for me and obviously for senior career professionals. So I want to just talk to you a little bit more about this. So leadership and business impact. They are not testing experience volume. They are testing impact, awareness. Do you understand how your work changes decisions, risk, or capital allocation? This is you need to go to an interview with the mindset that you are there to demonstrate that you're the best candidate and you truly understand their challenges and that you really want to contribute. You're not there to say that I really like to work on this area, unless that is really relevant for their challenge. You are there to show potential, to show understanding, to show curiosity. These are the things that matter in the mindset. So if you are thinking about leadership and business impact, as a mid-career, you can, for example, focus on trade-offs and framing and commercial sensitivity. Like we had competing development scenarios for a project. I structured the comparison around the costs and the subsurface risk versus the timing. And this led to prioritizing option B and reallocating budget accordingly, or reducing the cost or something. So it's a trade-off. If you're in a senior position, in the portfolio review, the key decision was not about technical optimization, but capital discipline. We had to defer the investment in this asset to preserve liquidity on certain geopolitics. Enterprise level thinking, risk calibration. So you will be asked often, depending on how savvy your interviewer is, and depending whether it's HR versus the hiring manager, or if you have to pass through different screens, often the questions will be very generic, at least some of them, like what have you learned from your mistakes, or what's your weakness and what's your strength. Don't go into the commonality of saying, "Oh, I'm a perfectionist," unless you're willing to say something that matters to them. Your weaknesses, turn it into something that is good. It's like behavior. That's a behavioral question. It's like, okay, well, I have X weakness. However, I'm aware of it, and this is how I balance this. Or in some situations, I can get very stressed, and I have noticed that stresses my colleagues. Because of that, and I have these tools, or I talk with my colleagues and I explain them what's going on, and also it's a good opportunity, because they share their own stress, and then we can find a better solution, or decide to escalate if we really need extra people, or etc. That's you are telling experiences, but always you're selling yourself. That is the job. That is the job in the interview. You made it there. You already have passed all these checks. You already had passed all the AI, all the HR. Now is your moment to shine and to tell them that you are the best person for that role. That's your job. So if they ask you what you like the best and list about your previous job, that is a good place to talk about behavioral competence. You have to say how your last job allowed you to demonstrate many of those behavioral competences: your curiosity, your proactiveness, your engagement. You train people, you mentor someone, you you learn from someone, and how did you pass that? You started a webinar, a weekly conversation about X. What did you do that matter on behavioral level? And don't spend too much time on the negative part, and be very careful. Practice. These are things that you can know before you go into the interview. And just perhaps you can say something, if you have to say something, you can say something about how by the end the role was limiting your potential, or to demonstrate what else you could do, or it was constraining you. And well, while you highlighted it, you are now looking at this opportunity, because this is opportunity that will enable you to grow and to do that, to get out of that box. So I see that potential questions, what you have to ask, was a very important one in this for this audience. So I will try to say a little bit more about that. You can test all your potential questions against the filter. Again, this is still part of the interview. Yes, it's turning the table, and depending on your seniority, they expect more challenging questions. But in the lower your seniority is more, it's still about selling yourself, right? It's still about telling them your potential, what you're bringing, that you understand their decisions, their money, their value chain. So test your questions before you ask. Does this question will help me understand decision authority, risk tolerance, learning about their culture? For that, you should have read their mission, their values. If you could talk with people from that company, you need to have that information. One question that I often ask, and I like to tell people to ask it as well, if they want to, is the lunch question. So you're being interviewed to work with a team. You ask them, do you eat lunch together? Or people eat lunch in their own desk? Or why? And this is where you're testing your questions. You're asking that, and it's not really if you care if they eat outside and how much it costs, or if it's in the canteen or in the desk or in a meeting room or whatever. What you're testing is how the team works, is the culture. Do they like each other? Do they spend time together? Do they talk to other people in other teams? Do they cross-pollinate between teams? That's the cultural questions. Then if you want to talk more about decision authority, is like what decisions, especially for mid-careers and seniors, you're looking for. What are the decisions? Remember, decisions, money, decisions that are going to bring business value. What are the decisions that this role influenced, for example, in the past year or something? Or what are the decisions that I will influence in this role, or that my team will influence? Do you understand? You have to give them an idea that you understand the scope, the risks, the boundaries, and you are interested in getting concrete understanding, and you're also evaluating a little bit of them, their role, to see a fit. That's pretty much the wavelength. Also, as I said, you're still selling yourself. Once that you get an offer, then that's when things really turn. That's when is your chance to ask the real questions, because now they are selling themselves towards you. They have decided that they want you. They're trying to get you, right? So that's where you go to your questions that are really about, do I really want to take this job? Here, you are still having questions that matter to you, but that show to them why they want to hire you. So, for example, if you're going for research, a question the researchers almost never ask, and I learned this from my PhD advisor, from Arthur Wegel, is you always want to know where the money comes from. Is it central money? Does it come from processing? Because your business, your research outlook, your boundaries will be very different if the money is central, if it's strategic, if it's coming from the business, and they have to earn money for you to get a budget for your research, or if you have to do research and also do business, processing or interpretation for the business to earn your right to the research. That will change the amount of research that you will do, the percentage. You also want to know career paths. If you are in a technical ladder, do they have a technical ladder? Do they have mentors, especially in an early career? If you're in a much more senior position, then you want to ask as well, okay, as I said, you are more strategic in your questions, and they want to hear your questions. They are actually evaluating you by the quality of your questions. So you can, for example, ask specifically, like if this hire, like if this is not a match, what is it that will likely have gone wrong? And you want them, especially in a final stage of a discussion after several interviews, you want to understand their status expectations. If there's a political navigation, a skill gap, and then you learn about the hidden risk factors. You can answer and say something about that, answer your own question in a sense, point at your advantages, or keep going and learn more about it, but you are demonstrating you really are trying to dig deeper. Decisions, failures, how they manage failure, especially in a technology organization, and especially if you are more on the research side or in processing, for example, then there are things that are going to fail, that are not going to go the right way. How do they manage it? And if they never fail, they never take risks. That's also important for you to know. You want to work in a company that never takes a risk. Organization, they will learn about the organization, if that it matters and is strategic for your role or the role that you're applying, for the risk or the certainties or the stakeholder management that you will have to deal with. Whether there's cross-functional influence, if it's, or you're only influencing in a line that tells you about the organization structure, how the company works, how hierarchy-driven is, data-driven, relationship-driven, all these kind of things. So again, for more senior, you want to know about external shocks, geopolitics, how X thing that's happening in the world is affecting the company. If you read the news and there was something important about them, they're about to enter a new territory, they just made an agreement with X technology, they bought a new company, they were bought, that's what you want to ask. And that shows that you prepared for that interview. And so strong questions do three things, right? They will surface hidden expectations, reveal decision authority, business, test cultural alignment. These are the things that you need to care for and that matter. And with that, I will end, and I think we have time for a Q&A. John?
We have to go through a few slides before, but then we'll
Okay.
jump into the Q&A. Thank you, Adriana. Thank you so much. So let's continue. Thanks to our speakers. And now we have learned how to curate a resume and cover letter. We have that knowledge to modify and tailor our documents. But there's something more than the SDG Women's Network Committee would like to offer to you, which is the Resume Review Initiative. It is a program where geoscientists will receive personalized resume feedback through volunteers from the Women's Network. So who is eligible for this? Any person that is watching this live or will access later on that previously registered and will have access to that recording before the deadline. So between now and March 4th, you can send that resume. How are you going to send it? You can scan this QR code. I'm also going to send it on the chat. You have to fill that form. It will ask a few questions if you're a student or not, for what application will that resume be. And you will receive an email saying, we have successfully received your resume, your documents, we'll be in touch. And that feedback will get to you via that email between March 25th and March 27th. So we really encourage you to take the advantage of this program and submit your resume, tailor it based on the content from this webinar, and send it to us so we can give you personalized feedback. Now, I'll leave you with a final message before the Q&A session from Bella Santana, who's the chair of the SDG Women's Network. Bea, we cannot hear you. You're muted. While Bea solves that audio problem, the Women's Network Committee, which she's the chair of, aims to support women in advancing participation, professional development, and visibility in geophysics. We welcome all types of members, not necessarily have to be women, but we promote events that benefit women, from girls to the retired in our community. I'm sure Bea would give you a much better message, but we organize workshops, networking events, programs, and if you want to join in the platform, you can do that, and also scanning this QR code. So thank you so much for attending this event. We also plan to have, as part of the career development series, other events, including LinkedIn. Thank you so much. And now let's go to questions and answers. Okay, let's see. Let's start with the first question. Let's see if you can see it on the screen. It would be, no, sorry. Okay, so the first question would be, it says, if you're to point down one single but extremely important fact that could make your CV credible and get you that dream opportunity, that would it be? For Adriana and Julio, could you turn on your cameras, please?
Credible. Okay, this is challenging because I don't know in this case if where the person comes from. If the person is early career, mid-career, senior, transitioning, mixed, hybrid background, etc. But I can say you need to read it in two levels. One, as the hiring manager. Two, as the HR person. So what is the HR person going to look for? It is going to look at the job description. It's going to look at what the hiring manager said. It's going to perhaps look into what other persons have that role, if that role exists already, what are more or less the skill set, and they're going to look to your CV to have that, to match that. They with AI, they will also look into your cover letter, so that's also part of it. It's very fast. So there you want to get the tone and some of the keywords that you, or challenges, opportunities that are described in the job description. You want to ensure that they're answering to that or even using them. In LinkedIn, if you have, there's some skills, and sometimes that some of the automatic automatization of LinkedIn will actually use those before they even pass it to the HR person. So you want to ensure that the keywords are there in your LinkedIn, in your CV, in your cover letter. And then what I would do, this is the most important part, is again, I would think as a hiring manager, is this something that they understand? Is my hiring manager going to read my resume and actually relate to it? If not, you have a lot of opportunities. For example, if you posted a position that doesn't mean anything in that industry, or it's not very self-explanatory, you can put 3 highlights of your role, why that matters, and try to make them in a way that matters to them. You can also be more proactive for future and have 3D links. Well, it's not 3D, but links. I mean, in your publications, you can have links to your conferences, to your publications, to different things. But you want to use to truly understand the role and ensure that your CV speaks to it at different levels so that you pass the filters and get to the interview.
Yeah, I think for me, the main hook will be the about part, the part in the beginning. I know that when reading with young professionals, if you can express the passion of learning there, and how that learning can reflect what the job description is there, that's a plus. So that part of your CV that you put your dreams and how valuable you are, it is really going to important for seniors as well. I think that will be the common. And well, personally, perhaps it's because I focus there, and that's where it jumps to me very easy when it's coming from ChatGPT. So I think it's probably it's not all like Adri mentioned, because it's way more complex. Because before that CV reach us, the human has come to a cross of numbers of filters already. So, but I think that will be not ideal, but I think it's one. Next question.
Yeah, that's an option, and I mean I'm not disagreeing, but I would say that I have not used an about since I was graduating from my PhD, because I consider that prime real estate, and I use it for things that are more relevant. But depending on where you are and whether it matters or not to you is your choice. I mean, formats for CVs are 1,000. Use your choice. That's if you're going to use it, whatever you use it smartly, as Julio is saying. One thing that I also do is, depending on the role that I'm applying to, for example, if I'm applying to a new board role, then even though some of my prior board roles were not paid, I will put them into the employment history. If I am applying to another type of position, I will put them as a separate section. You play with it. Even sometimes just moving things around matters. What publications or what volunteer work you put. Volunteer is always important. It shows leadership. Did you organize a workshop? Select the ones that matter to them. Give the highlights that matter to them.
Correct.
Perfect. Another question would be, I love the idea of evaluating the interview and company. However, isn't it a little bit pretentious?
Evaluating the sorry, can you repeat that?
And the company that you're applying, like in the interview, you're evaluating the company too.
I mean, you're learning about the company. You're not, I mean, you are always learning. You also want to know what's the match. It's not that you are explicitly evaluating them and telling them, okay, tell me this or that. These are things that matter to your job. I mean, if you're going to get the role, and that you are asking questions, again, remember, you're selling yourself. You're asking questions to get the job, but you're also learning about the company. Once that you get the offer, that's when you are really evaluating the company. Once that you get the offer, not at the interview. I mean, you're always evaluating them, but explicitly evaluating them is when you get the offer. That's when you change your seat. That's when you can ask more questions to truly evaluate whether it is a good match for you or not. It's not in the interview when you do that explicitly.
Thank you. Perfect. The next question would be, can you see it on the screen? Give me a second.
No.
Okay.
Just stay in the first question.
Okay. It says, are most job posting are initially screened by bots before humans? Is having key search terms extremely important so bots do not inadvertently screen you out? That's related with what you were saying and the ATS and etc. Could you clarify that?
Yeah, it's very likely that will happen. And that's why you have to ensure that you understand the tone, the language, and the main keywords or parameters, not keywords, words that are used in their job description or even in their website, and that you ensure that you have what's relevant in a way that a bot can read it.
Yeah, and connecting to the previous question, this is where, unfortunately, is becoming a standard. The same way as having a quick interview with a HR person, which is not the end probably user, especially if you are with headhunters reaching you. the first question that they ask you is, did you read the description, the job description? Do you know about the company? With those two questions in those 10 to 15 minutes interviews that are the first screening, that's, when the bots are connecting the human and the initial human. And that's why, although it's not perfect right now, I highly recommend it to have your homework to avoid that the bot kick you out at earlier stages.
Thank you. So the next one would be about the hiring manager. Julio, you mentioned that you could find, for example, with Perplexity, how to find out the hiring manager. Is it unacceptable if you write a cover letter with "Dear Hiring Manager"? How do you address that?
This is very difficult, being in both sides. I think although Perplexity can give you the names, LinkedIn is the one that you can use as a primordial tool here. Some of times the job descriptions come with a hiring manager there. Depending on the role, depending on how close this person is to you, I recommend to contact them. How? Well, first, see how many connections are between you and him. If they are further away, if they are too far, it is really hard. However, when it's hard to connect with this person, the ideal use of knowing the person is to imprint some of the things that you can see and value in the public profile with your cover letter. It's part of your research. And be very careful about, because I've been in both sides, and sometimes companies say, hey, don't be there, or they hide the person on purpose. Sometimes it's accessible. So the good thing is, when you see the name there, they're putting themselves in the free public. So be cautious, and look, if it's a first line of connection, go for it. Hey, I met you here and we have this connection. By the way, I saw that you are recruiting for this position, which I am interested. And just make them aware and bring that information and that short communication into your cover letter. And sometimes they can give you insights. Okay? So also, it makes sense when you are, if the hire is a small company or a big company. If it's a small company, that personal connection is way more important. Okay? So, and that's a way to put yourself out, because connecting with people nowadays are becoming more and more important every day. Okay?
Well, we have a lot of questions on the chat. Some are very particular to the situation of the person asking. So
Okay.
we are copying those questions, as Bea said on the chat, and we'll try to get an answer to you. Do you have a final message, panelists, for our audience today?
If you can, always try to answer in the interview one level above your current role. Start thinking about, if you are a student, start thinking, what is it to be a person in the position I'm applying for? Talk to the people who are on that role. If you are more experienced, you already know, or you should know much more. And be curious. And remember, at the end of the day, if you're applying to academia, then you have to talk to in that language and understand also that it is also a business. Everything is a business at the end of the day. So you need to understand where their money comes from, what they need from you, where you want to go as well, and talk to persons that already have that role. Be curious.
Yes, I think here, what makes us human is to be able to be curious, to build the future with the present information. And don't be scared about AI tools. They are here to help. However, although they are here to help, you cannot if you train an AI with all the information before 1920s, you won't be able to create jazz, for example, out of it with information that they turn in terms of music. So look that into your professional career, look into the past and see how you fit, and be curious, curate your connections, keep your connections, and be active, okay? Because, well, this is the work that we have, and enjoy them. And part of that enjoyment is to make quality connections, and especially the female brain that is so good on reading persons and reading the environment and adding that value. That value, it's becoming more important every day. So thank you very much. I do appreciate that.
Thank you so much for attending. We have with this finished our webinar. Hope you have enjoyed it, and please send your resume to the resume review program. Thank you so much, Adriana and Julio.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
A
Bye.
pleasure. Bye-bye.